Hey guys, welcome back to another GR8 podcast. Man, I'm so excited to be doing this. I hope and pray I don't get into this welcome back to the podcast. I actually wrote down notes and I'm like, oh man, this is I hope I'm praying it's not too formulaic. I'm praying that it's just so I want this to be more relaxed. A little bit more chill, laid back, who cares, Anyways, I want to get into our second episode of all time. I'm so excited to be starting this podcast, and the first episode was just more of an introduction, more of hey, this is what I'm going to do. I try to lay out the plans of the whole podcast, and now it's, I hopefully getting in the swing of things here. So I just want to talk about what I've been doing, what I've been experiencing, the media that I have been consuming. And I had this idea about the podcast that with the things that I watch and stuff, do it in different segments and stuff, or do it in different episodes. So I'm going to be talking about it on this episode of the podcast. I watched the new Disney Plus shows, Ms. Marvel, and the new Obi-Wan Kenobi show. I also watched Titans, which is the live-action Teen Titans show on HBO Max. And then I also watched Ozark on Netflix with Jason Bateman. And then I also want to talk about the NBA Finals. So, me talking about, even with, Disney Plus shows, Ms. Marvel is a Marvel show, while Obi-Wan Kenobi is a Star Wars show. So do I want to, split it up and talk about, Marvel's things, or do I want to split it up and talk about Star Wars things? But if I only have one or two things to talk about on a specific topic, then it's not long enough for a whole another podcast episode. So obviously just trying to still work out the kinks here, work it out, and see how I want to do this show, how I want to throughout all the time available for me to do this show. So I think honestly, I'll just jump right into it. Again, this is still rough draft. We're still, working through it. So I had some free time on my hands, so I was able to catch up on all the shows that I really wanted to watch. Ms. Marvel, the new Disney Plus Marvel show, just came out, and the new episodes of Obi-Wan Kenobi have been coming out weekly, and HBO has all kinds of stuff coming out, and then Netflix has all kinds of stuff coming out, like Stranger Things and things of that nature. And also Amazon Prime Video has some stuff going out too. So I thought, I was I'm in the prime time of just content. I might as well just, start a show and start a podcast. And now I can start talking about Ms. Marvel, Obi-Wan Kenobi. So Ms. Marvel, I think, was actually pretty good. The first episode, not bad. I think it had a whole lot of style and a whole lot of personality and a whole lot of flavor to it. And I feel like the other Marvel Disney Plus shows, it didn't have that, to be quite honest. I think Falcon and the Winter Soldier had this cool political, feel about it. And Moon Knight had this cool, not necessarily fantasy, but this wild kind of, mind F of a movie. And then, Loki was this cool multiverse show. While Ms. Marvel, I really don't know how it's going to go, but it feels very young, if that's the word I want to kind of use. It feels like a early 2010s, coming of age teenage movie. But it has so much style, so much personality, so much, camera movements. There's this, it show, because, coming out with different movies and stuff, they show text messages in different ways, characters communicating through text, and they show the text up on screen. And I think that's a cool way to display text and display a conversation that's not necessarily happening verbally. But in Ms. Marvel, I saw the coolest way of displaying that kind of concept. These two characters were texting, and you could see there was neon lights, and they would flash I don't know, free pizza or something, and then it would turn off and then flash again, and the text would have been changed to whatever text the person is sending that's on screen. So it's hard to explain because it's like watching in front of me. I was like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. But I think just for the technical and filmmaking aspects of that show, I think it's at least worth the first episode watch. At least watch like the first 10, 15 minutes of the show, because I think it's about a 45-minute episode. It's actually not bad. Had a lot of personality, had a lot of color, had, a lot of things going on that I think will work in the future in upcoming episodes. So, I've watched all the Disney Plus Marvel shows, and I've been somewhat underwhelmed, but always surprised by the ones I'm not necessarily like looking forward to or excited about. And that's like how I'm feeling with Miss Marvel. And I'm like, I don't really know, but I'm, obviously very surprised by the first episode. And then I watched Obi-Wan Kenobi. I think it's episode 4 or something, because they came out with the first 2 episodes on the same day, and then the third one, and then the fourth one this past week. So I am very, very underwhelmed by this show. I don't think it's fun. I don't think it's cool. I don't think it's like what this Obi-Wan show could have and should have been. I think it should have been about... Well, I mean, obviously, we're 4 out of the 6 episodes through, and it's a lot about Leia, and it's a lot about the Inquisitors, and yes, it's about Obi-Wan, but I wanted to see a whole lot of like Obi-Wan's failure to teach Anakin and raise him as like a normal Jedi instead of like allowing him to fall to the dark side. And obviously I'll talk a whole lot about Star Wars in my upcoming Star Wars video when I get through all the videos or get through all the movies. But this Obi-Wan Kenobi show, it's not hitting the mark for me because I don't think it's hitting all the emotional beats that it should be. When watching these trailers and things, we knew the Inquisitors were going to come, and we knew like it was going to be about Anakin, and Hayden Christensen was going to come back. We all know that, and we all know Darth Vader was going to be in the show. But watching this show, it just feels so cheap. It feels so like not Star Wars. It feels so just another run-of-the-mill Disney Plus show. And it's kind of annoying because Obi-Wan is one of my favorite Star Wars characters, and I think his change from episode 3 to episode 4 as Obi-Wan Kenobi and Ben Kenobi, I think there's about a 9-year difference, and we're seeing that, and I don't feel like we're like living it. I don't feel like we're feeling it at all. I just feel like this is just another Obi-Wan, have to go rescue Princess Leia. So I don't know. Hopefully my mind changes. Hopefully my opinion changes within the next couple episodes. But all we got is 2 left. All we have is 2 episodes left, and I'm already like not really feeling it. And then the other thing, Titans season, I think 3 or something. Titans is like the live action, like I said earlier, the live action Teen Titans show, like on HBO Max. So obviously, you have Robin, you have Starfire, you have Raven, and you have Beast Boy. Cyborg's not on the show, but he's on Young Justice, which is also something that I watched. And it's weird to see the difference between these two because both are HBO Max original DC shows. One is live action and one is animated, and both of them have been going on for some time. Young Justice a little bit older because it came out, first 2 seasons came out in high school, canceled, and then came back, and then they finally made the 4th season. 4th season was really good, but I want to talk about Titans and how bad it is. This show is it is probably the worst show I have ever seen in my entire life. I tweet at HBO, I tweet at Warner Brothers, like asking, what are you doing with this show? This show is just awful. It is so bad. The story writing is bad. The character writing is so bad. These characters have no idea what they're doing. Like, from episode to episode, you literally have no idea what's going to happen. Not in a good way. Like, I wish I could just explain what was going on in this season, but I literally can't. People make such weird decisions. The CGI is very bad. There's hardly ever any action, and I'm not saying I need action for a superhero show, but it promoted itself as like a really action-based type of show with, you know, some emotional elements, and like it's about the Teen Titans and such an interesting concept, and yet they just dropped the ball. Per usual, because that show all around is really bad. And then the final thing I want to talk about, like TV wise, is Ozark. I watched I think it's season 4, the last season of Ozark, and Ozark was really good. Ozark is really good. I've liked that show since I first watched the first episode. I think it was several years ago. And then finally, it's all coming, all wrapping up with Jason Bateman as Marty Byrde, and then the other characters. I forget the actress's name. I forget the wife's name, Wendy. And then Charlotte, and Noah. Noah? Jonah. Yeah, Jonah. With all those characters, I think they had a really cool story. It's about a family that's falling apart, that need to stay together in the Ozarks. I think in their like Louisiana or Mississippi or Missouri, because they launder money for the Mexican drug cartel. So they have to like operate businesses that like generate money for them, and then they have to. Jason Bateman's character, Marty Byrde, this season becomes the head of the Mexican drug cartel that they launder money for, because the leader of it got captured. And there's so many, like, not political. There's a lot of economic. Well, there's like political things like governors and different things like that in the show, but like it's all like a revolving door of characters, of people dying, and then people not taking their place, not necessarily taking their place, but coming in and saying like, hey, like I want to do this, and then they get killed, and then like somebody comes in and it's like, hey, I want to do this, and that messes up like the Byrde family's plans, and like it causes trouble for them. It's very interesting to watch it, because you're watching a good show. You are. But the story is still, yes, very, very well crafted and very well grounded. Just, it's hard to keep an audience's attention for like 12, 14 episodes a season when every single episode is like an hour long. And then I'm just summing up the show. It's about a family that's falling apart that launders money for the Mexican drug cartel. Very, very, very interesting concept, but everything that they add into it, you think is like, oh man, like I really wasn't expecting that. Oh man, like these characters I've grown to like really like just die, and I don't know. I saw the movie. I saw the show as very underwhelming, I guess I would say. The end of it as at least, because they try to work. They try to work to get out of the situation that they're in, and then they finally have an out, and then like something happens, and then the show ends, and I'm like, well, are they still in the situation that they're in? Are they still under the Mexican drug cartel? Because if they stop laundering, they just kill them, right? But Jonah kills one of like kills the personal investigator that was investigating the the Byrde family, and the show ends like that. Something like that would cause a whole nother season of repercussions for that family. Like, why is the show ending on that? Can we get like a happy ending where they like leave the Mexican drug cartel, they leave everything behind, they leave money laundering behind, and say like, all right, we want to start anew, we want to, fix our family, we want to do everything right this time. You get none of that. You literally get none of that. You just left on another another cliffhanger, and the audience, especially me, is like left wondering like, why did they do that? So I loved Ozark for the majority of the show. The ending and like this couple, like you could definitely see like, okay, things are dragging, but that didn't really happen too much until like the final season, final 2 seasons. So go watch Ozark. Jason Bateman. It's like Bateman's baby. Like, he directed most of the episodes, and I don't think he was necessarily in the writer's room, but I think he's also an executive producer. So Jason Bateman is a very talented man in Hollywood. I think he's one of the best people in Hollywood, and then this show just expresses his creative juices and his love for telling stories in a cool and dramatic way. So go watch Ozark. Go form an opinion for yourself. And then this is where I'm like, I don't know if I should start like a whole nother episode or whatever, but I'll just keep going for the for this one. I've been watching the NBA Finals. The NBA Finals between the Boston Celtics and the Golden State Warriors. I've been listening to a whole lot of sports podcasts almost like every day, multiple different shows a day, trying to absorb like all the information that I can about this series, because watching it on television and then going to bed and then going like about your life is like so it's interesting watching it. You're like, oh my goodness, like the Celtics beat the Warriors in this quarter, and then like the Warriors obviously play really well in the third quarter. Steph Curry's like having an amazing night, dropping 43 points. But when you watch the games and then you go listen to like actual sports broadcasters and sports analytics and look at the sports analytics and then listen to the sports analysts, and they have so much of a different perspective on these finals and all these games. Boston obviously has the best defense in the NBA, and arguably one of the best defenses within the last decade, probably, with all of like their might with Grant Williams and Robert Williams and Marcus Smart with Defensive Player of the Year, and then even their scoring capabilities. It's just like it's just amazing with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They also have great players like Al Horford, great role player, and Peyton Pritchard, versus the Golden State Warriors, who we all know is, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green. Obviously, this time they don't have their crazy bench and Kevin Durant, but they do have a bunch of young guys like Jonathan Kuminga, who hasn't been playing a whole lot, but Jordan Poole, who has been playing a whole lot but hasn't been playing well. They have like Bielita. I forget. I don't know how. He's like a center. He was playing good defense, and it's just interesting because you thought it was going to be a matchup of really, really good offense in the Warriors versus a really, really good defense in the Celtics, and then who's going to win. Where watching this show and listening to the different podcasts, I'm not necessarily sure if that's the case, because if the Celtics, obviously, they will always have their great defense. They will always have their great man-to-man defense. They hedge very well. They take screens super well. They know how to adjust with their great head coach. But they also have very, very good scoring capabilities with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. So they can beat you on both ends of the court. And they don't only have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And if that was the case, then it would be the Warriors' job just to guard those two. But you also have Grant Williams, who can shoot the ball very well. Marcus Smart, who can play some good ISO ball. Robert Williams, who's playing extremely well, and I think he's going to be the X factor throughout the next couple of games. Who's also getting offensive rebounds, so extra chances and extra chance points for the Celtics. And then you also have the Warriors, who obviously have a great offense. Steph Curry as the greatest three-point shooter of all time. Klay Thompson, another great three-point shooter. He's up there. He's probably he's definitely top 10, top 5, yes, top 3, maybe. I'm not too sure. And then Draymond Green, with former Defensive Player of the Year, but brings a lot of emotional, energy to the team. Brings a whole lot of power. Not necessarily in the stat line, but definitely on the court. But that's almost as far as the Golden State Warriors go with offense. So it's just really interesting to see their offense, when playing really well, obviously they've been playing really well in the third quarters, and really, it's such an interesting series because these playoffs have been super weird with like one team blows out the team and then like another team blows out the other team, and they just flip back and forth. While these playoffs, these finals, like these games are not blowouts, but it almost seems like it in how well different players play on each night. Jason Tatum was terrible in the first game, and I think he was okay in the second game. He's been, struggling, but, still pretty good in the last two games, while Jaylen Brown has been playing extremely well. Jaylen Brown usually has been getting off to like a really hot first half, usually a really hot first quarter, but I think it was game 2 or game 3 where Steph hit 6 threes in the first quarter, and then he didn't play. Steve Kerr didn't put him out on the court for the second quarter. So it's like all these defensive rotations, all these offensive rotations are constantly moving around each other, and that's why you get a 2-2 series. That's how you get like these teams who are matched up not perfectly at all, but it's all about coaching. I wonder what these head coaches are saying in these timeouts and like on off days and before and after the game, because I really want to hear what they have to say about their teams. These teams are not an offense versus a defense. They are simply a offense that has a lot of weaknesses and also still has a pretty good defense, because Steph Curry's been stepping up on defense recently, but Klay Thompson is not necessarily a defensive presence, but can play defense, but since his injury, he hasn't been as fast and like as quick, versus these Boston Celtics, who, yes, they have great defenses, but they just let go. They just like sometimes, give up in certain spurts and quarters, and then offensively, they have other spurts that not necessarily negatively affects their team, but positively affect their team. They can go on a 14-0 run and within like 5 minutes, and then the next 5 minutes, they'll go 0-14. So it's like the Boston Celtics, if they keep their foot on the pedal and play literally just above average against these Golden State Warriors, they can win these finals almost easily. But if the Boston Celtics shoot themselves in the foot, which they have been known to do, and they've been doing it within their 2 losses in these finals, then the Golden State Warriors can win easily as well. So it's about coaching, it's about adjustments, and it's about their mindset. It's about, if the Celtics can keep it rolling, get a couple good shots, and stay on the defensive side, while the Golden State Warriors don't let the Boston get in their head, but shoot well, and they can, because Klay Thompson hasn't been playing well either. Klay Thompson had his first good game within 4 games last game, and I didn't even think he played that well. He just shot his shots. He played well in the first half and then struggled a little bit in the second half, but still shot shots. He still shot his turnaround threes, turnaround jumpers, and then his spot up threes and things of that nature. While Steph is like carrying this whole team, and the Warriors cannot live with Steph carrying this team. The Warriors cannot just allow Steph to get 25 to 40 points a night and just be like, okay, like, thanks, Steph. Everybody else gets a ring too. While Steph Curry, if they win these finals, then yes, Steph Curry will get his finals MVP finally. But it's not necessarily a factor. It's just something like who I'm rooting for. I'm rooting for the Warriors. I'm trying not to be biased when talking about the statistics of these games and things, but I'm rooting for the Warriors, and I'm rooting for Steph Curry because I think he gets a lot of hate for being good. And if he wins this year, if the Warriors win this year, then he will have as many rings as LeBron, and that's 4. And obviously, I think we can all you know, come to the conclusion that LeBron is better than Steph Curry. But if Steph Curry ends his career with the same amount of rings of LeBron or even more, because I think it's safe to say that LeBron is done winning rings. I don't, the Phoenix Suns or the Milwaukee Bucks or, the Boston Celtics and the Golden State Warriors are the teams within the next couple of years that are going to be on the come up and win a whole lot of games. I just don't see the Los Angeles Lakers winning as many games as they did back in 2020 and then got this like weird Mickey Mouse ring. And also the Miami Heat, great team. Dallas Mavericks went to the Western Conference Finals. I don't see LeBron winning a ring within his next, within his career anymore. But I see all these other players that are, what's the word? Challenging LeBron's legacy without actually challenging LeBron himself, like Giannis and Steph. Obviously, the Golden State Warriors dynasty, played a whole lot against LeBron back in like 2015 to 2018. But LeBron's dynasty in Cleveland and Miami, sure, that was like back in the early 2010s. But now it's, the Golden State Warriors dynasty towards the end of the 2010s. But now, finally, Steph is getting a little bit older. I think Steph has like maybe 2 more good years left in him, and then he'll probably play like 2 more years after that. It's just interesting to see this formation and changing of the league to all these young players. Like, heck, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are both within their first 5 years in the league or something along those lines. 5 years. Luka Doncic is in his 3rd, 4th. Obviously, Jimmy Butler's been in the league for a little bit, but players on the team like Bam Adebayo and, Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, great three-point shooter. Like, Giannis, all these players are, playing at such a high level that I don't see LeBron winning another ring. And it's to that point that if Steph wins a ring this year against the Celtics, then he'll be tied with LeBron, and then he'll have even more an opportunity to win more rings. And if he wins more rings than LeBron, then is there a conversation that needs to be had? Is there a conversation that needs to be had where what happened to LeBron's legacy? What happened to LeBron's like ability to win? We go this crazy amount writing LeBron about like his ability to get to the finals like 7-8 years in a row or something like that. And then the very next year that he joins the Lakers, he doesn't even make the playoffs. And he still had a good team around him. A lot of good young players and Anthony Davis. And then he didn't make the playoffs. And then obviously the next year in 2020, the Lil Mickey ring. And then almost like immediately after that, the Bucks go to the championship. And then like, now I'm getting all my times messed up, but you know what I'm saying. LeBron is done, and Steph Curry has such a small window to beat LeBron. And if the Celtics win, then I don't see Steph winning another ring. But if the Warriors win this year, I do see Steph winning another ring, if that makes sense. If the Warriors lose this year, then Steph Curry will probably end his career with 3 rings. If the Warriors win this year, then I see Steph Curry ending his career with at least 5. That's like kind of the idea that I've been getting through these playoffs, through all these like sports analysis and like all these statistics and things of that nature. I see Steph Curry powered by Draymond and helped out by Klay Thompson. And then also like the with the upcoming offseason and being able to move some players like Jordan Poole. Maybe they can get like a Rudy Gobert type player, or something else, maybe a Bradley Beal on the Warriors. So the opportunity in the window for Steph to continue to win is obviously right now to maybe 2.5, 3 years. And that's scary. That's scary for the league for the next 2 or 3 years, and that's scary for the league afterwards, because who's going to fill that hole? Trae Young, is he going to fill that? Going to fill that hole? Luka Doncic, is he going to fill that role? Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, are they going to fill that role? Because do we honestly see the Boston Celtics going to this finals again next year? Personally, I didn't even see Luka and the Dallas Mavericks go to the Western Conference Finals and get a couple win. Was it 4-2? I think it was 4-2. It was 4-1. I know they won at least once. So Luka and the Dallas Mavericks, literally putting the Mavericks on his shoulders, on his back, and carrying them to the Western Conference Finals. With, yes, they do have like some good role players like Tim Hardaway Jr. and Maxi Kleber, and also a great ball handler and great point guard in Jalen Brunson. Could the Dallas Mavericks be could they win a title within the next 3 years? Could they win a title within the next 5 years? Is Luka going to win, MVP next year? Because obviously Nikola, and even the Nuggets. Well, the Nuggets got bumped in the first round. So there's just so many questions. There's so many questions, so many implications in what these finals mean, because it's not an offense versus a defense. It's a really good offense and a pretty good defense versus a really good defense and a pretty okay offense. Things are changing throughout the league. Things are changing throughout the NBA, and I'm super, super excited to see what's going to be happening within the next couple games, next couple months, next couple years, and what these finals mean for the rest of the NBA. So, that's what I know. I went on to like a long spiel about the NBA, and I love the NBA, and I can't talk about the NBA in a certain way that like deep NBA and basketball analysis do. Like, I can't do that. I don't. They know what they're talking about. I can only, as a viewer and like a casual audience viewer, watch these finals and just give what I think and what I think has been going on. So I'm going to try to get better at like talking about basketball, although we only have at least 2 more games left, because the finals, game 4, and then game 5 is tomorrow on Monday, which is crazy. So I think that's it for the show today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I've really enjoyed, doing this podcast and like getting the logo and, spreading awareness. Not awareness. That's such a weird way to put it. Like spreading like the news about my podcast. Telling people like, hey, go listen, go watch, what are some questions that I can maybe answer for you? But I think this has been a pretty good, nice, rough, dry run for episode 2. I think splitting it into different like topics as like different episodes would probably be the best probably course of action that I can do. I think I covered everything I want to cover. I still need to watch Stranger Things. I still need to watch Barry. I still need to watch The Boys. Those are like, I have a long list of things I need to watch, but those are the things that at the top of my priority list, as well as the Star Wars video that I want to make, and like the video about like my major and what I did at school. That video is going to be cool. So thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you guys so much for, consuming the content that I've been putting out. Hopefully you guys continue to consume the content that I put out. I can't thank you guys enough. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. Hopefully you found this interesting. Hopefully you found this podcast episode interesting. Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you guys so much. See you guys in the next one.